Hey everybody out there, and welcome to this edition of a late night screen review. This week we're talking about It Lives Inside. Where?
Tamira, what's going on with you? All the stories we heard growing up, they're all true. It lives inside. Don't you hear it? What is the Bishal, Mom?
The Bishal doesn't kill you right away. It feeds on you slowly. But when it's ready, it eats your soul. What do we do? We must make an offering.
Oh, you Shanti.
Only you, Shanti. Only you, Shanti.
So It Lives Inside is out in all cinemas on the 22nd of October. And it's a brand new horror movie directed by a brand new director, first time director, Bishal Dutta, and distributed by small distribution company Neon. So what's the story about with this one? So this movie tells the story of Sam, or Samita, who's a kind of young teenage girl at high school, just desperate to trying to fit in, and kind of very slowly and gradually moving further and further away from her East Indian culture. The family have moved to America, and they're just trying to kind of integrate into society and into the kind of westernized culture. And this is the story about Samita and her kind of the two halves of her personality kind of colliding. That's the through plot to the whole thing. Unbeknownst to Sam, her best friend, or at least her kind of East Indian best friend, has fallen victim to this weird entity that she has to keep hidden in a jar or some sort of vessel, and she has to keep feeding it meat to keep it sedated. Unfortunately for Sam, she doesn't believe her. And madness ensues! So, what did I think of this movie? Well, to be honest, I didn't know much about this film. I saw one trailer, I think, in the last film I went to see. I think it was when I saw Saw 10, actually. I went to see that at the cinema. And I saw the trailer for this movie. Now, it was interesting because, again, this is almost like what they call a sleeper movie, which is a film that nobody saw coming, essentially. It's a very low-budget film. It's a first-time director. It's obviously taken a kind of horror movie, but from a very much more of a different culture, an East Indian culture. And so there's that kind of flavouring to it, which kind of adds a bit of originality, which, of course, we're all in dire need of right now. So, it was a really different experience. I didn't know what to expect from this movie, and I went in, kind of blind. I'd seen one of the trailers, and that was all. And I really enjoyed this movie. So, here's the thing. This film smacks of a first-time director trying to inject something a little bit new, of their own culture, their own heritage, insert it into a genre, which is absolutely fine, but also trying to kind of placate the line of keeping it within, Western standards of what we consider to be horror movies. For me personally, I would actually love to see this film go a lot further with the kind of East Indian mythology and all the kind of, things that we in the West probably have very little idea of. I'd like to have kind of delved into that even deeper than this film does, but the film tries to play both sides, which it does admirably, to be fair. So the film is set in America, and it's about Sam, this young, precocious girl. She's very smart, intelligent, but she wants to fit in. She wants to fit in with the Western society. So she kind of drops her older East Indian friend and stops hanging out with her, and then goes and hangs out with all like the cool popular kids. And she becomes more westernized. She speaks English or American a lot more, and clothes wise and all that kind of stuff. And her mum is a very traditional kind of has a root in all the East Indian traditions. So all the mythology and bedtime stories and all that kind of thing, and obviously speaking the language pretty much throughout, which is subtitled. So just if you really can't stand subtitles, you might struggle through some parts of this movie. But it's a really good dynamic, because when the daughter and the mother are kind of coming to loggerheads, the mother's almost exclusively speaking Hindi, whilst the daughter is obviously speaking American English. which obviously is the whole point of the whole thematic kind of underpinnings of the entire movie. So what happens? Well, ultimately her friend, for some reason or another, kind of ends up coming into contact with this ancient demon, this East Indian demon that has to be kept in a vessel. So she's got it in a little jar, and nobody knows what's going on, why, how, but she's carrying this jar around school everywhere, and she's a bit of an outcast. Nobody's talking to her. Again, she's a lot more she's kept her traditional side of herself more prominent. And so nobody knows, why is she carrying around this jar, this weird girl? And it turns out she's got a demon inside the jar that she has to keep feeding raw meat to. And Sam and her come to loggerheads, and there's a fight. Something gets knocked out of somebody's hands and releases something. That's all I'm going to say. But this film really plays both sides of that kind of the culture, that somebody, I guess anybody that's moved from one country to another country, they have to obviously want to keep their own cultures alive and present within themselves, but then also have to deal with the fact that they have to learn and assimilate into a new culture. And that's this film's story and the underpinnings of this film. And the direction is, fantastic. It looks incredible. The soundtrack is really fun and interesting. The main characters are great, really well acted, especially for their ages. A special shout out goes to Megan Sari as Sam, the lead protagonist, and her best friend Mohana Krishnan. Sorry if I'm pronouncing those names badly, which I'm probably butchering the names, so apologies. But those two characters are great. They're so good. And every character in this movie plays their role really well. Now, are there any detractors from this movie? Yeah, a couple of nitpicks. I mean, obviously, if you're a hardcore horror fan, a lot of the setups and, some of the character moments you've seen before, it does have one nitpick that I do have with this movie, is that the main creature, which is, again, an original concept, originally designed. I think there's a lot of practical puppet work from what I saw in the movie, which I was really, really grateful to see. But the only thing with it is it does that thing where it's a monster. It acts like a monster. It claws at people and it growls and and then in some scenes it's highly intelligent, like to a human degree. So which is it? Or if it's both, maybe those two things need to be worked together a little bit neater. And this film it carries on that kind of modern day horror trope, but there's a lot more going off here. The performances are stellar. Again, the kind of origin of the creature, what it is, why it is, how it is, that's all really original, especially for me, somebody that doesn't know much about East Indian culture. So for me, it was a revelation and just interesting, something new. Again, if you're looking for a scary movie, if you're looking for a horror film to watch sometime soon, this is the one to watch. I mean, this is an original movie. It's got original characters, original concepts. Yes, there's some formulaic bits to it, but if you can look past those bits, and again, if you're a horror fan, you'll probably enjoy those bits anyway. You're going to see an original horror movie, and it's going to be scary. It's going to have some interesting shots. It's going to have great cinematography, great acting, a great soundtrack as well. And I'm pretty sure, a practical monster that has some original origin. So if that sounds good to you, then It Lives Inside is the movie for you. And I highly recommend this movie. I had an absolute blast watching this film. I thought it was great. That's my review for It Lives Inside. Go check it out now. It's going to be out after the 22nd in England, and I'm not sure after that for everywhere else. Probably on streaming services, who knows. But till next time, guys, I want you to stay safe, stay scared, and we will see you soon. Bye.